What do you find when you tell people somewhere else that you're from Milwaukee? What do they see? What do they think of?
Beer.
Okay.
Cheese. And that's their knowledge. It's funny now, though. I was in Los Angeles not 3 months ago, and I was talking to a friend of a friend who didn't know I was from Milwaukee, and this person said, "Talk to me about your new art museum. Talk to me what happened," because that, you know, that structure we have on the lake right now is international news and has brought much light to the city.
It may even get rid of the Laverne and Shirley quality.
Could. Yeah. I embrace that, though. You know, I do. I embrace the fact that, you know, people have no idea how manageable the city is, how easy the city is to live, and how clean the city is, and I celebrate that. It's
a we don't do a good job at PR. The South does a good job at PR. Austria did a great job at PR. They convinced everyone that Beethoven was Austrian, Hitler was German. But the South, and I'm going to give you a phrase, and I'll bet it'll resonate, palmetto bug. Oh,
Lord.
Now, is that a palmetto bug? That sounds lovely, doesn't it?
Sure does.
What is this? What is it? Have you ever seen one?
I saw one not too long ago. I spent the summer in Tampa. And, you know, they're this big, and they're roaches that look like they should be prehistoric and gone. Yeah. And they're still crawling up through the drain in your bathroom.
Oh.
And it's like, what is that? And they said, it's a palmetto bug.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's an ugly roach.
Yes, that is.
Quit saying that.
That is a hideous thing. I was fascinated by, and I think this is correct, Sheer Madness did not start out as a play. And it wasn't even American.
It wasn't. It was Swiss. And it was written by a man named Paul Portner as a study of what people believe they saw. So it was almost like a psychology exam in a group of people sitting around, and then they either read something or acted out a small piece, and then the people just, you know, went back to say what they believe they saw. And Bruce Jordan and Marilyn Abrams, who are the two owners of this piece, bought it in 1978. They bought it for $50,000, the rights to this study, and turned it into Sheer Madness, which has been playing for 22 years in Boston, for 15 years at the Kennedy Center in D.C.
They probably almost made their initial investment back.
I think they must have.
Yeah. Last Tuesday, I think they made it back. But there's still a part of that. I don't want to give it away, but there's a part of that within the play now where the audience is called upon, not in a hokey way of, okay, you come up on stage, I'm going to talk to you. It never makes you feel uncomfortable.
And you don't have to say a word if you don't want to.
Yeah, do you mind explaining how that works?
Do you know what happens? You're introduced to 6 characters in a hair salon. You have no idea who they are. You know that one's two are hairdressers, and other than that, you just don't know in the beginning. Well, it turns out that they talk about a character that lives upstairs from the hair salon, who's this world-renowned concert pianist whose name is Isabel Cherney. And in the midst of activity, this woman is found dead upstairs, and it's determined that someone in the shop has committed the murder. And the lights go up, the audience gets involved, and really helps these two guys who are police officers solve the crime.
It's absolutely fascinating, and it must change every night.
It does. It does, because we have been involved in this piece for a long time. We call the audience the 7th character. A lot of times they don't know their lines. They're not really sure where they're supposed to stand. I mean, it's just like they just don't know. So you get an audience. Milwaukee has been wildly successful with packed houses and 450 people a night who are more than willing to get involved, and it's been really a treat to do it here. And it changes and breathes every night because of that factor, the fact that these people don't know what they're supposed to do.
And so they just do something, and you guys have to react to it.
We do. We do.
And it looks seamless when you're sitting out in the audience.
It's not.
No, it's
not. Trust me, some nights it's just like, oh. And they give you enough rope that, you know, this piece gives you enough rope to really either do well or hang yourself. And there's many nights where it's just like, what?
But it's got to be grueling for you. You are, I mean, main character doesn't say it.
Well,
you're it. And by the way, I can't imagine seeing that show without you. It's now so identified. I've only seen it once, but Tony is you.
Well, that's what. If you had seen someone else do it, that's how you would. That, you know, there's Tonys all over the country, you know, and it's just a matter of getting that. You know, as I said, it's a fine line for people to like it, and it takes a long time for that to really be created and to, I think, to be done well. And I certainly enjoy doing it. I've done it for a very long time, and a lot of people say, "How is it hard to do something over and over the way you do it?" The audience makes a difference. The piece is different than in any four-walled show that generally happens, and because of that factor, it's easier than most to do for a long run. I also have become involved in producing this show as well, and that has brought out a whole different side of me that I'm really incredibly pleased to find.
Did you know that you were a good businessman?
I thought I was. I was raised by a bricklaying father who, I say, at the age of, you know, he said to me at one time in my life, he says, "You don't want to die, and there on your grave it says, 'Here lies a lazy man.' Is that what you want?" And I said, "I'm 8 years old. I'm not sure." So he was very concerned that, you know, that not, you know, I'm not afraid to work. I didn't know that I'd be really good at keeping things tight and together, and that's, you know, that's my job now. So.
You've got a project coming up, Totally Committed. That sounds absolutely terrifying from a performer standpoint. Fully Committed.
Yes, it's a show that ran in New York off Broadway for 2.5 years. It's a play by Becky Mode. I play 40 characters.
Excuse me?
40 characters. I play this guy named Sam, who is the reservations clerk in a very popular New York restaurant, and it's hard to get a reservation. So Fully Committed means we can't take you in tonight. So I play Sam, who is the through line of the whole piece, and every character that calls in for a reservation.
Good grief.
And we open on March 11th at the Milwaukee Rep.
How do you prepare for something like that?
So far, what I've done, we don't start rehearsals till the middle of February, but so far what I've done is tried to memorize the 58 pages.
Yeah.
And
because it's just you, right?
It's just me. And so it's 58 pages of 40 characters. And once I start work with the director, as I talked to my director, who is Ed Morgan, who is the Associate Artistic Director at the Milwaukee Rep, I said, "I've got most of the lines down, but I only have 3 characters." He's like, "Oh, Lord, we'll fix that."
Oh.
You know, so...
I was going to ask you something that went right out of my head, which happens to me not infrequently. That's a fascinating idea. You also you do a one-man show on Friday nights at 10:30.
I do.
Someone told me about this, and I went to see it, and I thought, well, there are going to be 4 of us there. It's packed.
It's packed.
And it is stunning. It's
Thanks.
you on stage telling stories, and it's compelling.
Thanks.
How'd you work that up?
You know, it was 9 years ago, in 1994, I was living in Chicago doing Sheer Madness, and I was commissioned to write a piece called Midwest Side Stories. And it was by the Bailiwick Theater has a theater festival, and one of the producers of that was also a guy who was involved in Sheer Madness, and he said, "You know, you need to do this because I've heard your stories, and other people need to hear them." So in 1994, the first real shell of what's become my solo work premiered at the Bailiwick Theater in Chicago.
Is that a scary sensation to get out on stage and now you're telling your own story? You don't have a character to hide behind. It's just you and an audience.
It was, but it has gotten such wonderful press, and I've gotten such great reviews and notices all over the country with this work. And because of that work, I've done work on Comedy Central, and I've done work on HBO, and I've had a lot of exposure through my own storytelling. So it's, you know, it was frightening at first, but I'm so grateful, and it's the work that I cherish and that I really love doing most.
Is that something that can be taught?
I don't know if it can be taught, but I believe that it can be organized. You know, I'm doing something for UWM continuing education, a class called Telling Tales. I started at the end of March, and what we're doing, I have 20 students, and what I'm going to do is help them create a 3 to 5 minute piece with a beginning, a middle, and end, a through line. And I don't know if you can really teach them to get up and feel and make that story come alive for everyone, but I could certainly help them create the story that will have all of those components that should make a good story.
Does everyone have a story?
I think we're all just completely full of them, and because of that, that's what we call history. You know, we have. I've gotten letters and emails and responses from people. I did my show at the Public Theater in New York a couple years back, and I got a letter, and it said, "I am not from Milwaukee. I'm not Irish. I'm not Catholic. I'm not gay. And I'm not in my 40s. I am a 60-year-old Jewish woman from Brooklyn, and you spoke my life through your stories. You need to know that your message is universal. You need to know that your experience is all of our experience, and I am grateful for you coming to New York to tell us about my life."
What a wonderful thing to get.
Incredible. Yeah.
She may even protect you from your mother. You use your mother a lot, and I often wonder whether she's disowned you yet.
She hasn't. She keeps saying, "Well, as long as you keep making money, it's okay." She's afraid.
Is she really that bad at cook?
She's the worst. She's the worst. She can do the turkey. She can do a good mashed potato.
Make a pie, probably.
Right, but don't start with all of, well, no, her pie, I'm telling you, I tell a story about a key lime pie that she said, she was very excited about the key lime pie that she made last July, and we went over there for a cookout, and we took a bite of the key lime pie, and I said, "What is that?" And she said, "It's a grape." It's an indication.
Why was it grape?
Well, that she wasn't sure how much lime. It's like, Mom. And she had sour cream in it, which called for cream cheese. And I said, "This isn't a pie. This is a big Pyrex dish full of ingredients, which equal nothing. This is terrible." So, but I was raised Irish. I was raised Catholic in the 50s and early 60s, where I didn't realize until I was 14 that food could be prepared any way but boiled. I mean, we only had boiled food as a kid. I was away at seminary, sat down with 300 kids to have dinner, and I said, "This is the best food I've ever had." It's like, oh, it's because I'm Irish.
Oh, John, Sheer Madness, your own show, fully committed, coming up. Plus that workshop, which sounds absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much. This has been just a pleasure, an all too fast half hour.
My pleasure.
And thank you for being with us. I hope we will see you next time as we continue to remember. Thank you.
See some photos signed by Babe Ruth and a pottery set of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs as Antiques Roadshow continues its stop in Seattle, next at 7, here on Channel 10.
I love boxing. Where else do two grown men prance around in satin underwear fighting over a belt? The one who wins gets a purse. And they do it in love. It's that